So they are still announcing the picks for the 2017 expansion draft for the Vegas Knights, but, well, we knew about all these beforehand because there were all these reports about who the players that they were taking before, 3 hours ago, 4 hours ago? So we already know all the names. So we're going to talk about it right now. We got Caleb Weiler here, and we also got a new member to the Bitterbirds, another Phi Kappa Theta member. Stand up, baby! Riley Lola. How you doing, man? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good, man, good. I'm going to stay seating. I won't sit down, but my name is Riley. I am indeed a part of the Phi Kappa Theta fraternity, and I am a video editor at Comcast Sportsnet. I work the night side shifts there, do a bit of post-game and pre-game analysis for any of the 4 teams that are playing, whether it be the Phillies, Flyers, Sixers, or Eagles. I also do freelance videography and video editing on the side, and am a pretty big fan of the NHL and also a huge fan of the Detroit Red Wings.
There you go. You also like the Flyers too, though. That's important.
I enjoy the Flyers, yes.
It's important for this show.
Yeah, it's important.
Let's bring Caleb on right now. How you doing, man? This is gonna be awesome. So we got 2 credentialed Flyers reporters and a guy from Comcast Sportsnet. Pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely awesome. Glad to have him aboard. It's great to have additional opinions come on here. Even though you're a fan of the Red Wings, we'll let it slide moving forward.
You guys are looking like you're in better position than my team, so
for now. You guys had 20 years of playoffs. I think you need a break.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. So for the idiots like me that don't really understand how this expansion draft really works, can one of you guys kind of just, if you can simply do it. I don't know if you can simply talk about how this process works, but if you can, just try and describe it.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a little complicated. I mean, you're adding a brand new team into the fold in the NHL. It does add 31 teams, so there's going to be an uneven amount of teams in the league moving forward. But they did have to pay a pretty hefty fee of $500 million, which gets spread among the teams in the NHL to join the league. So it's definitely interesting. But to get into the draft, they have to pick one player from each team, whether that's somebody who's on the active roster or their last contract was with the team. So, for example, the Golden Knights took Derek Engelland, who was not under contract with the Calgary Flames, but had just gotten out of a contract with them. So that constitutes as their pick from that team. So they have to pick a certain amount of forwards, a certain amount of defensemen, and a certain amount of goalies. I believe it's something like 14, 9, and 4. And then they can fill in the rest any way they want. So they get to pick basically any players that are unprotected. And a lot of teams have players that they left unprotected, so there's a lot of backdoor deals going on so that certain players don't get picked.
Anything you want to add to that, Riley?
Yeah, just to clarify, that is correct. You need 26 players, you need 14 forwards, 9 defensemen, and 3 goalies. And as Caleb had mentioned, in addition to the selection of the 30 players, the Golden Knights had basically from Sunday at 10 a.m. till today, Wednesday at 10 a.m., there was a roster freeze in which the Golden Knights were the only team able to have conversations with the unrestricted free agents. So like Caleb mentioned, with the Engelland deal, he was a UFA, and that particular unrestricted free agent deal essentially counts for the selection that the Golden Knights have for that particular team.
So there we go. And as for the Flyers selection, it was leaked out earlier. It was made official not too long ago. Pierre-Edouard Bellemare heading to the Vegas Knights. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, definitely not a huge loss. I believe I saw a stat that he was dead last in like 5-on-5 scoring or any type of scoring in the league last year. He only had 4 goals and 4 assists, so 8 points total in 82 games. You could kind of see where Hextall was going with that because he protected Lawton over Bellemare, who did get the A after they traded Streit last year. So moving forward, you definitely see the youth movement with a 33-year-old Bellemare getting taken by the Golden Knights because he was left unprotected. Expect someone like Lawton to fill into that role next year. So I'm not broken up about the pick. I'm definitely interested to see who gets the A next year, though.
Yeah, I agree. In my opinion, I think this was actually the best-case scenario for the Flyers. I think Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, while he is definitely a gritty leader of a player who's definitely one of their top penalty killers and was named the assistant captain after the end of the season, I thought that he was probably the best available for the Golden Knights to take and not have much of an impact on the Flyers. As Caleb mentioned, That protection of Scott Lawton, I thought, was an interesting choice as after the expansion, or excuse me, the protected lists were released, because I felt that it was a decision by Ron Hextall to kind of move in to that youth movement, and potentially once Belmar is gone, that essentially opens up a space that Scott Lawton can naturally fill. And if you want to bring up other guys from the Phantoms as well, you have that option.
Yeah, the question I have for you guys, let's talk about the list specifically. Do you guys agree with it? Were there other guys you would have protected? What do you guys think?
I think the list was perfect. I mean, I can understand why he protected Lawton over Belmar, and obviously Belmar got picked. Lawton was a first-round pick at one point. While he hasn't shown his worth in the NHL yet, he definitely did play well for the Phantoms this year, and it seems like he could fill in on a nice fourth-line role. And like you said earlier, this is a great spot for the Flyers to be in with Belmar being taken. I would say probably second-best scenario to, for whatever reason, GM George McPhee taking McDonald off of our hands. But other than that, I definitely like the pick. Great scenario for the Flyers in regards to their protection list. I mean, you had to protect Filppula with his no movement clause. However, if he didn't have one, I would have liked to see him be unprotected, or maybe Hextall could have asked him to waive it, because the Flyers are getting that second overall pick in a couple days, which will allow somebody to slide into that spot. So it's going to be interesting to see how Hextall juggles the lines if Hischier or Patrick makes the squad this year.
Yeah, I agree. In retrospect, I think that with the McDonald deal, that would have probably been first or second best case scenario, especially from the business aspect. And I think, in retrospect, it was a good decision for the Flyers to keep those particular players protected and exposed. I thought that they may have lost a player in Matt Reed or UFA in Jordan Wheel. They have the opportunity to deal with Wheel in the offseason. They have Reed, and they still have, which was, I thought, an interesting decision for an exposure in Michael Raffle. So I think that the Flyers did pretty well. I think the selection of Belmar, as far as a leadership role, will be good for the Vegas Knights. But I think that the Flyers are going to be doing well moving forward.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Why would they take Belmar? Because it did seem like there were some other guys on the list that you would take before him.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think that Raffle would have been the obvious choice, because he is a former 20-goal scorer. He does play well when he's paired up with some other high talented guys. So that's who I would have picked if I was him. But it seems like they just picked him for his leadership qualities. He's on a low deal, signed at around $1.5 million a year for the next couple of years. So he's not killing their cap, and he's a good locker room guy to kind of help out the players, where a lot of the picks that they've been making are under 30 years old. So these picks and these prospects that are coming up, while Belmar hasn't been in the NHL that long, he has been playing hockey for a long time, and it just seems like everybody enjoys having him around. So if I had to guess, that would be why, but they definitely didn't pick him up for his offensive production.
Yeah, and I also would say that having both of Steve Mason and Michael Neuvert on the exposed list was an interesting choice that I think did offer kind of the Golden Knights a further opportunity to draft a forward in somebody like a Michael Raffle or, in this case, Belmar. But like you said, he is not necessarily the best, one of the worst 5-on-5 forwards in hockey last year, unfortunately. Doesn't really push play a whole lot. He's a good, gritty guy. But honestly, I think it's a subtraction, or an addition by subtraction in this particular case. Yeah,
absolutely. So let's talk about reaction of the expansion draft in general. Surprise picks. Any picks that you guys really liked? What do you think?
So for me, the thing that stood out the most up to this point, and I think they've only made about 15 picks up to this point, so they're about the New York Islanders. One, they picked Berube, the goalie, from their team as their pick, and then because they picked him, the Islanders actually sent Mikhail Grabovski and a first and a second round pick. So he made off like a bandit there. Some of the picks people aren't agreeing with, but in that situation, I mean, he came out with a first and second pick from a team that didn't make the playoffs this year. So I'm not sure what the conditions were on that pick, and I know there's a lot coming through, but more. But for me, that was huge, the fact that they were able to get a young goalie, a speedy, I think he plays wing, speedy winger, plus a first and second round pick. So for me, that was a huge get for the Golden Knights.
Yeah, I think with the pickup from the Islanders in Berube, that sort of caused a little bit of a chain reaction with choosing Thomas Nosek for Detroit versus Peter Mrazek. That was one that particularly surprised me as an individual decision. But I also think that kind of what went down in Florida was another interesting situation where you had the loss of 30-goal scorer Jonathan Marchessault, in addition to Riley Smith, which is kind of a loss of talent on the forward line. But when you look at it a little bit deeper, I believe Florida chose to make that deal in order to protect Jason Demers, who is a young defenseman, one of their better defensemen, and also essentially to unload the Smith contract, which was actually at a 5-year, $5 million cap, going to 2022. So that offloading of that contract from Florida, unfortunately, also had to give up a fourth-round pick in addition. Was kind of a bit of chess match going on with the Golden Knights and the Panthers.
There you go. All right, so to kind of end it, we'll quickly talk about the draft coming up on Friday. Obviously, the big draft that everyone's talking about is the NBA draft, but the Flyers are going to be picking number 2 on Friday night. So, Caleb, what are you hearing?
Yeah, so everything I've been hearing so far is that it seems like the Devils are leaning towards Hischier as the first overall pick because he's more dynamic, he's a little bit more speedy, kind of what the Devils are looking for to pair with someone like Taylor Hall on their top line moving forward. So that would mean that Nolan Patrick actually falls to the Flyers at number 2, which would be huge because he, for the last 2 years was the number 1 prospect, and then Hischier comes out of nowhere. So if the Devils actually get tricked into picking Hischier, and I know a lot of people like him, but the fact that Nolan Patrick played for Brandon. He played with Ivan Provorov on their championship-winning team in the WHL, which is a huge connection there. To get them back together would be awesome. Ron Hextall and Braden Shen also played in Brandon, where Nolan Patrick's coming from. So just the release that Patrick has and everything like that makes me really excited for the fact that we might be getting him at 2nd overall. Jumping from 13 to 2 was huge, and getting the best prospect in the draft is going to be awesome as well. There's also been rumblings of the fact that Vegas has been offering Ron Hextall the 6th overall pick, the 15th overall pick, and the 24th overall pick for our pick at number 2, plus the contract of Andrew McDonald. So that's something I've been hearing too. I don't think Hextall bites on that, but definitely expect to hear more rumblings with that moving up into Friday.
Okay, all right. Like to hear it. Now, I've made this point before, but this situation, it really reminds me of last year, the NBA draft, and Ben Simmons was like the consensus number 1, and Brandon Ingram made this late run, almost caught him from behind, almost got drafted number 1, but obviously the Sixers, they took Ben Simmons, so kind of a similar situation here, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Hischier was definitely not in the top 10 on any drafts to start the season. He had a great year playing for the Halifax Mooseheads and the Q, I believe, and so he had a great season there. I believe he scored about 86 points in the games that he played. So he definitely played well, and he was definitely put on the map during the World Juniors playing for Switzerland. So he's definitely a great player, and a lot of scouts are saying that he deserves to be picked number 1 overall. But I like to go with the consistency thing. Yeah, Patrick has an injury history, but at the same time, he's growing. He's really big at, I believe, 6'2", 6'1", 6'2", 200 pounds. So, I mean, kids at 18 years old who are that big are bound to get injured because they're just growing into their body. So I don't worry about the injury history. Either way, if they get Hischier or Patrick, it's going to be a great get, especially jumping, like I said, from 13 to 2.
Yeah. All right. Final thoughts time. Anything else you guys want to talk about or bring up?
Super exciting time right now to be a Flyers fan. 2nd overall pick coming up. I mean, it's just exciting what's going on with the league right now. It's, there's 31 teams, and we're midway through the draft with the Vegas Golden Knights. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the NHL moving forward.
Yeah, I think with the protection and exposure list on Monday, the expansion draft on Wednesday, and the NHL draft on Friday, there's a lot of buzz being generated by the NHL. They're really engaged with the fans. There's going to be more news coming out, with the particular trades and the deals from behind the scenes. So, like Caleb mentioned, it's going really great for the NHL right now. I also have to say that most of the jersey choices and decisions made by Adidas, although I was a little opposed to it, I will give them a pass. But you want to know something? I initially, and we can talk about it, I initially really liked the Vegas Golden Knights, although I would probably make a couple of tweaks to the actual jersey itself. but I thought the reveal was pretty nice.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. I think the Vegas jerseys are sexy. I mean, not a lot of great jerseys in the league right now. I mean, you have the Kings who had great jerseys for a couple years, but other than that, generally gray is not used as a color. And with the red and the yellow, I think Adidas killed it with the Vegas jerseys. Definitely agree with you there.
Now, my one question is, do you think they're actually going to use the white gloves or not?
I hope so. That would be awesome. I hope so.
I can't get past the white gloves. I don't like the white gloves, man. I don't like them. I just don't like them. I don't know how they fit. I don't know how they fit with the uniform, but I can agree with you. I think the gray is pretty sleek. I would have personally liked a little bit more black in there, but I like that red stripe. I think it's going to play nicely in Vegas.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
All right, so the Flyers jersey pretty much looks the same. So
it's exactly the same.
Exactly the same, yeah, which it should be. I like the Flyers jersey.
I agree.
I agree. It's like one of the originals of the NHL.
It's classic.
Now I'm thinking of like old jerseys now, like how atrocious the Canucks jersey used to be, and yeah, that's what I'm thinking. What are some of your favorite jerseys? Do you like that Canucks jersey? It's atrocious.
The black Canucks jersey?
Yeah, the old one with like yellow and the black and the red and all that.
Those are pretty gross.
Love it.
It's so 90s. It's perfect. You put a Pavel Bure on the back, you're good.
Yeah, I do have to agree with you on that one. Bure choice. If we had to go with favorite jerseys, I'm definitely going with the original Mighty Ducks jerseys, though. Classic. And eggplant, not in white.
You know, hilariously for me, I should be against the Blackhawks as a Red Wings fan, but I think the Blackhawks jersey is just too damn nice. But I do also like the Red Wings jersey and dislike that the Tampa Bay Lightning completely stole the design and just slapped on blue.
Hartford Whalers jersey. But I love that one.
Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah, I know
that. And I'd say the old Colorado Rockies jersey.
Colorado Avalanche.
No, go back further.
Oh, there was actually Colorado Rockies in the NHL? I didn't know that. I'll have to look that up. I'm going to look that up right now.
Am I correct? Is it the Rockies?
We'll look it up right now. Colorado Rockies, NHL. Yes, you're correct.
Wow, I didn't know that either.
They played from 76 to 82. Look at you.
Yeah.
Look at you, Riley.
I like my jerseys, man.
That is impressive, dude. I'm looking at their logo right now. They just got a big C in the middle of a mountain.
Yeah, in the middle of a triangle. That's what they have on the side patch for the Avs. That's kind of a credence to that.
Dude, actually, this jersey is fucking awesome. It's so ugly, it's awesome. Like it's historically ugly. It's just awful. But it's great. So, all right, I think we're done. Dude, that was great though. Great to end it with the jersey talk. I'm glad we went and did that. So nice. That's why we do final thoughts. That's why we do final thoughts. So in case we missed something, why we do it. That's why we do it. As for me, I got no final thoughts. I'm going to be at the NBA draft tomorrow night. I'm going to hope to do some live streaming from the Barclays Center. Just not sure how the connection is going to be. But if I can get the live reaction of Markelle Fultz, I'll definitely have it up for you guys tomorrow night. So Caleb Weiler, Riley Lola. I'm going to be singing that all the time. I'm Adrian Fedke. Deuces. We out. Peace.